Good evening, everybody. Today we'll be doing the homework for a solve percent change and percent error problems. So let's move on. I got number 7. We're going to be working with the simple formula, big number minus the small number divided by the original number. It says the original quantity is 10, whether we know what our original is, and the new quantity is 13. What is the percent of change? Is it an increase or decrease? Well, we take the big number minus the small number. That's 13 minus 10. That leaves us 3. So 3 is what everything has to equal. The percent is going to be multiplied by, well, we had our original number, 10. And the percent that we're looking for is going to be 3 divided by 10, because remember, we have to go ahead and get 10 away from P, so we'll be dividing it away. And whatever I divide from one side, I divide from the other side. And that makes 3 divided by 10 be 0.3. The percent of change is 0.3. Well, remember, when we turn it to a decimal, we move the decimal point over 2 spaces, and that will make it 30%. So in this particular case, we're looking at 30% is the percent of change for number 7. Let's proceed on to number 9. Number 9 says, at noon, a tank contains 10 centimeters of water. After several hours, it contained 7 centimeters of water. What is the percent decrease of water? Well, again, we take the big number, which is 10. We minus the small number, which is 7. And that's going to give us 3. Well, we divide that by the original, and it contained 10 centimeters of water originally. So 3 divided by 10 again, well, we just did this a little while ago. That's going to be 0.3. We move that decimal over twice. That's going to be 30%, but this time it's going to be a 30% decrease and not an increase. Okay, decrease. Of water in the tank. All right, let's go to number 11. Carl bought an airline ticket 2 weeks ago. The cost of this flight was $300. What is the percent of change? Well, he bought the ticket, and 2 weeks ago is when the price was $300. Now the ticket is $375. So we take the big number, $375. We minus the small number, which is $300. That's going to give us 75. And we divide it by the original number. The original number was 300. So we got 75 divided by 300. Let's get our calculator out. 75 divided by 300. That's going to equal 0.25. And of course, when we move that decimal over 2 spots, that's going to give us 25%. So what is the percent increase? There is a 25% increase. All right. Now we're going to see number 13. Rihanna has a container with a volume of 1.5 liters. She estimates the volume to be 2.1 liters. What is the percent of error? Percent of error this time. All right, Rihanna has a container with a volume of 1.15. She estimates the volume will be 2.1. She's estimating now. This isn't really a thing of what it was, right? Because she's estimating it. So that puts a little bit of a twist on it. Because now we realize we're going to have to use the only number that actually was in effect, and that was 1.5. So again, we're going to take the 2.1, we're going to minus, we're going to minus the 1.5 because it's big number minus small number, and that's going to give us 0.6. Now we have 0.6 divided by, and this time we have to go with the only number that actually is in there, right? It has a container of 1.5. This estimate is simply that, something she's hoping is going to happen. So we have to go with dividing it by 1.5. And if I take 0.6 and divide it by 1.5, let's see, 0.6 divided by 1.5 will give us 0.4. And of course, we have to move that over twice. So that the percent error is going to be a 40% error. Okay, let's go to number 15. On number 15, it says the band expects to have 16 songs on their next album. So when they write, the band writes and records 62.5% more than they expected to have. Well, if we set this up as our formula, big number minus small number divided by the original number, it's going to equal the percent of change, okay? Then we can go ahead and work this backwards. We can multiply the original to each side, which means that the big number minus the small number has to be equal to the percent of change times the original number. Well, we know we have expected to write 16 songs, and since they got more, that means that the big number is what we're looking for here. So the original number has to be the 16. So that's going to be our small number, 16. Of course, the percent is going to be 62.5%. So let's write all this below. 16, the big number minus 16 has to be equal to 62.5% times 16, which was the original number that we're talking about here. So now, what is 62.5 in number form? It'll be 0.625 that will be multiplying to 16. That has to be equal to the big number minus 16. If I take my calculator, we see that we've got 0.625 multiplied to 16. That's going to equal 10. So that means that, let's see, if this is equal to 10, that is whatever the big number minus 16 is. So if that's true, then it's equal to say that B minus 16 is going to be equal to, I'm sorry, this was 10. 10. If we work this backwards to find B, we have to add 16 to both sides. That means B has to be equal to 26. Now lastly, it says during the addition process, 50% of the songs are removed. Okay, so if that's true, how many songs will there be in the final album? Well, 62 divided by, well, 50% is dividing it by 2, or I guess you could even say multiplying it by 0.5, right? Because if you take 50%, and you move the decimal back twice, you get 0.5. In either case, we could say that 26 times 0.5 will give us 13. So let's see, B has to be equal to 13. So there will be 13 songs in the first album. Let's go to number 17 now. You have 20 quarters. You find 40% more quarters in your room. Let's see. Then you go shopping and spend 50% of the total number of quarters. Oh boy. Okay. Write an expression that represents the total number of quarters you take with you when you go shopping. And once again, we're going to set up the expression. It says write an expression that represents the total number of quarters you take with you shopping. This is going to be before we spend the 50%. Once again, we got that big number minus small number divided by the original number will equal the percentage. But we can also rewrite this to show that the big number, whatever the big number minus the small number equals, it has to be equal to the percent times the original number. And since we know originally we had 20 quarters, and we know that you find 40% more, that's going to be, when we move the decimal back 2 spaces, 0.4. We know that's going to be equal to the big number minus the small number. Now, since we know we're going to get more quarters than 20, because we found 40% more, the small number must be 20. Now we can rearrange this, because if we have minus 20 here to get B alone, we can add 20 to it to bring it to the other side. So this is actually going to become, the big number will be equal to, let's see, 20, right? Because this is going to be a positive 20 that I bring over. 20 plus whatever 0.4 times 20 will be. So there's our equation right there. B, or 20 plus, remember an expression doesn't have an equal sign, so the final expression will not have this B equals in there. It will just be 20 plus 0.4 times 20. Now, how much money do you have left? Well, let's see here. If we have 0.4 times 20, let's see, 0.4 times 20. 0.4 times 20 will equal 8. All right? So if I follow this through, we're going to have 20 plus 8 must equal B, and that would be 28. So that's how much we had when we started shopping. If we spent 50% of it, that means we spent half of it. We could just divide it by 2 or multiply it by 0.5. It really doesn't matter. I like dividing it by 2 easier, to be honest with you. That means how much money do I have left? The amount of money that I have left is going to be, well, I shouldn't say B anymore. The amount of money that I have left will be, see, 14. 14 quarters left, right? That's what it says. If I have 14 quarters left, 4 times, let's see, 0.25 will give me my answer. So let's just get our calculator and work that out. We've got 14 times 0.25 gives me 3.5. And in money terms, we know that that's going to be $3 and, well, put a zero there, 50 cents. So we have $3.50 left over. And number 18, I believe, is for you. That's it for me for tonight. Hope that helped you out with the rest of them. And have a great night.